Recording is in progress. What a pleasure it is to see you on this episode. I hope you're having a great day today. My name is Gary. I go by Gary the Expert. You can check out my website, garytheexpert.com, in the description of this channel. And today's episode is going to be around a metaphor. The metaphor is around goal setting, as you can tell by the title of this episode. Metaphor and analogy, these are two great things. A metaphor, I believe, is when I say something and I mean this thing. An analogy would be if I have a parallel example to either or. So I say something to a client about X, and then so they have Y problem. I say something about X problem, and they relate those two things, and that's a paralleled analogy. So today I'm going to give you a metaphor and a metaphor around goal setting. Before we do that, of course, the sponsor of this podcast is Quasi.com and upskillonline.org. You can find those in the description of this. If you're listening here on YouTube and you're seeing me on YouTube, hello to you. Please leave a like, comment about this analogy, or maybe what analogy you want me to cover next. If you're on podcast and you're listening, I appreciate that very much. Go ahead and give a rating as well. That'd be very much appreciated. We like good karma around here. So I'm going to give you a fantastic episode, my subjective, biased opinion, and I hope that you enjoy it very much. So with this episode, the analogy is goal setting, and it's around charting a course. Goal setting is like charting a course on a map. So what do I mean by that? When you have a map and you're on part, anyone's any good at geography, you're not A1 and you want to get to E6, right? In these grid boxes. And in order to get there, you just say, okay, this is a straight line. But in the middle of the map, you say, I don't know, C3, right? C4, there is a big mountain, a big demographic, big elevation rise in the middle of the map, and you have to go around a certain part of it. So you say, I'm gonna go straight here, and then I'm gonna draw a little curvature line, and we're gonna go meandering in and out of this, and we're gonna get to the other part. It's great in theory when you have it on a map, and that's setting a goal. That's fantastic. And I could leave the analogy there, but just as much as as well as I do, that as soon as you set course on this map, you're going to realize there's a road closed up ahead, or that there's maybe a bear in the woods and you need to avoid that, or maybe there's a river that you didn't account for and you didn't see, but there's no bridge for another 1 mile as you zoomed in on the map and you see there's a bridge down there. Or maybe you get to this mountain, you're like, no, actually, we actually can go over the mountain. It's not actually that big, and there's actually a pathway that leads us up there. And I actually will take that quote unquote shortcut, right? So as you set journey on your goals, you're going to run into challenges. And that's the number one thing I think for people that I deal with in terms of helping them create goals. It's not a matter of creating goals. Everybody can create goals. It's very simple to create goals, but it's not being aware to the challenges that are going to arise. And when they do arise, either not having someone like an accountability partner, a therapist, a coach for them to lean back on, to therefore bounce back into the action. Because when they're on their own, when I'm on my own, when you're on your own, probably, you have a challenge. Unconsciously, you check out and you go do something else because it's a more attractive thing. That's a normal human nature. We don't like pain, so we're going to go do pleasure. Pretty simple, makes sense. When we hit a challenge, the challenge isn't the end of the world. The challenge is just the road is blocked. That's it. So we have to walk 5 miles up the road. We would rather not walk 5 miles up the road instead of rather sitting here, waiting for the person to come at 8 a.m. and open the gate. We would rather sit here, open, watch YouTube, than go down that 5 mile road. So for you, for me, what would I advise? What would I advise to someone like a client or yourself when they have this goal? And that's a fantastic goal. It's a smart goal. They're excited to get the goal. There's a pot of gold at the end of this journey. In E6, whatever I said, E6, I think it was. There's a pot of gold there, and you want to get to it. Well, first of all, before you set sail, along with doing that, analyze the possible challenges, and you're not going to be able to account for everything. So just get 4, 5, 6, 7, whatever ones spring to the top of your mind, and understand those possible outcomes. I like to ask those clients, what is the worst possible outcome? Because if we set our mind to what's the worst and something happens below that, we're good. We're very good, because our mind isn't actually because we've I don't know how it works, to be honest with you. I couldn't tell you. I might have some rationales if I really think about it, but I'm enjoying just saying that we don't know how to deal with it. If you were to ask me a serious question on that, I'd probably have a good answer for you. Okay. But you've set your mind so high that it only hits halfway so you can continue on your journey. Okay. So number one, set a SMART goal. Number two, watch out for those challenges. Number three, when you do hit a challenge, what are you going to do? How are you going to react? This is a very important thing. Are you going to get frustrated at the people around you? Are you going to get frustrated in yourself? Are you going to cry about it? Are you going to say there's no point in doing this and turn back? No. Number three has to be you have a big enough reason to complete it. Right? You have a big enough reason for you to achieve your goal, and not when you hit a challenge at step 3 or step 2, you quit and you go to a different challenge because the other challenge is attractive. The other challenge is always going to be attractive. The grass is always going to be greener over there. And every time you walk towards that, it's going to feel like, I just need to do this thing. And your mind's going to try to talk you out of it. Your mind's going to keep trying to talk you out of it every single time. Every single time your mind's going to talk you out of it. And you're always going to want to do the other thing because the other thing's better. But you've got to go through. So how big is your reason why? How big is your hurdle? Number 4, I would say, what things do you need to get there? All right. What tools, what software, what hiking boots in this example, what knives? What do you actually need to help you get there? That'll be very, very important. 1. All right. Let's go on to 1. What's the goal? SMART goal. Great. 2. What's the challenge that could arise? 3. What's your purpose, desire, rationale for doing this thing? 4. What do you need to actually do it? 5. Let's get going. Let's get going. I might add in 4.11, do an Apple update. 4.1. Who do you need to go with? Who's with you? All right. Number 5, let's get going. Let's get going. There's no time wasted here. Let's go. In this analogy, I've given you an example of, as you set out on this course, point A to point B, it's fantastic on paper. But as you're a mile into this trek, you're going to realize that there is so many more analogies, metaphors I can give you. Everybody has a plan until they get punched in the face. I hope you have a fantastic day today, whatever day it is. My name's Gary, and I go by Gary the Expert. Check out my website, garytheexpert.com. I help people with coaching and therapy on a one-to-one basis. It's been a pleasure to speak with you here today. If you want to have a session, feel free to book in a session. And the sponsor of the podcast is in the description as well, quasi.com and upskillonline.org. Thank you. With that being said, see you in the next episode. While I'm here, before you go, if you haven't rated this podcast or given a like, why not? Why not? Go ahead, give it. Good karma. You give good, you get good. Law of reciprocity. What you give, you get. Law of cause and effect. There's always these examples. And that's my e-begging done for today. Have a great day. I'll see you in the next episode. Thank you.